Greetings Marines, FiOth here, and surprise surprise, we're finally doing this. This vid is a long time coming, especially for the OG old guard of the channel, people who love Alien and Aliens, and they've been asking for something like this. So I came to the realization after a while that if people keep asking me about my rating of various stuff, I might as well have a tier list like the one we're doing today. Gave myself a bit of time to just process Romulus, so we will be rating all 9 movies in the Alienverse. That means we have to have a xenomorph in the movie for it to be part of this ranking, which means Predators is out and The Predator is out. AVP will still stay in, and of course all the movies that are part of Ridley Scott's series or the recent Fede Alvarez movie will stay here as well, including Resurrection, which was directed by someone totally different and had Mr. Whedon's involvement, which is always a red flag. I will be making this vid short, sweet and very friendly, so I really want you guys to go into the comment section and leave your opinion on this ranking. Keep it civil. I know there is a huge ass demographic out there who are in the "we don't like stuff anymore" team, and I will allow those comments as well. Just be polite and respectful towards each other. So we're gonna start with the absolute worst. I left the tier list to be from S to D, didn't want it to reach, let's say, F, not to dilute it too much, but if something is on D, it's a stinker. Also, if you're wondering what this is Humpy Jr., was given to me by Luke, a very dear friend of mine on the channel, so he will be keeping me company, evaluating my efforts, and going up my ass if I mess it up. Let's get to it! Starting with the absolute vomit, we have Alien vs Predator Requiem. Guys, you don't need to ask me why AVP Requiem is a bad movie, you just need to watch it. It's shite. And in case you are one of those nostalgia-driven individuals, I'm personally allergic to nostalgia. I think it's the worst drug, and as the commercials say, don't do drugs, kids. I am not gonna categorize anything based on my fond memories of the past. I'm just gonna try to be objective here, so AVP Requiem is a piece of shit. I'll die on this hill, fight me. After that, I think that comparing the Alien franchise to, let's say, the Terminator franchise leaves Alien in a better light. You know what I mean? It's not like we have total stinkers like Dark Fate, for example. Although we have some pretty bad shit, it is not that bad. So I'm gonna try to rationalize why I place things where I place them. I will go with Alien Resurrection on C, and that is because it is not as heinous as AVP Requiem, but still is one of the shittiest movies you can watch when it comes to fandom. It has a couple very slick moments, like the underwater section or when the Xeno is detected in the esophagus of the guy before it bursts through. But man, the opening of this movie with the fly getting squashed on the windshield or the glass bulkhead or whatever you want to call it, kind of prepares you for the overall quality of this movie, which is something like goo in your sandwich. You don't want to know what it is, and you certainly don't want it there, just as I didn't want this movie to exist. The scene where the clones of Ripley get burned with a flamethrower, the look of the practicals there, is top-notch stuff. It shows that there were some good ideas put in there. But there is a lot of shit in this movie, it's corny AF, I don't really like watching it that much, although it kind of is a guilty pleasure. No man, no. Not good. We don't need to discuss any further. Now, everything from S to B is what I consider to be absolutely watchable stuff. And herein lies my overall more optimistic approach about this IP in comparison to the aforementioned Terminator IP, for example. Because apart from these two stinkers, everything is totally fine to watch and rewatch if we get our heads out of the bucket of I don't like the goo stuff, I would like stuff to be the stuff I like. and you just watch it for what it is, you will appreciate stuff like cinematography, photography, some of the character arcs, although Alien in general is an IP plagued by stupid characters. There were stupid characters since the very first movie. Extremely stupid characters that did extremely stupid shit and F things up. People just wanna acknowledge the stupidity in Prometheus and Covenant. But bypassing the directive of your second in command to order the company's synth to open the door so you can get a face-hugged individual in a spaceship in the middle of God knows where is stupid as stupid gets, and it was in the very first movie, the classic that everyone loves. So broaden your horizon, people, because these are double standards if I've ever seen any. Parentheses aside, let's go to the B's. Now, Alien vs. Predator is a perfectly watchable movie. It's fine. It is a movie by Mr. Anderson, responsible for the shit that is the Resident Evil 7ology. I don't know how many of those turds he made. But he also made Event Horizon, which is pretty excellent. And he made this. And I enjoy watching AVP. AVP is fine. I love the scene where he acknowledges the protagonist and says, here's some weapons for you as well, I guess you can fight. And the honorary approach to the whole situation that the Yaoja exhibits. It's really good stuff. I really enjoy watching that kind of thing. Too bad it led to its sequel, which is I don't know, it's a vomit crap. You just vomit into the pan, you fry that shit, you create a new crap that you can eat if you're the biggest masochist, or I don't know, you're a part of Jackass. But AVP is fine. It's a fine movie, no issues with it. I leave it on B. B to C, let's say, the lower B. But it's a good movie. I'm not gonna fret about it too much. Now, before we move into the Ridley Scott stuff like posterity, when it comes to the involvement of other people with the IP, the Alien 3 by Mr. Fincher and Romulus by Fede Alvarez, these are movies that get a lot of flack, especially Alien 3, because people have had time to process it, and the director himself disowned the movie, saying there was too much studio meddling to call it his own. I have it on good authority that it is absolutely true. There was a shitload of meddling from the studio and he wasn't able to make the movie he wanted to make. That said, I am not a hater, so if you expect me to go about in this vid saying that, oh, this is awful, I don't like it, they killed off Hicks and Newt, like, I judge something on the merit of what it is, not what I would want it to be, leading to something else. So, now that we're strictly talking Alien and aliens, I would like to acknowledge the duology of the David saga. Okay, Prometheus and Covenant. For as much as I would like to be able to place them higher, I'd say Prometheus is a B+. The cinematography is fantastic, the aesthetics are unparalleled, it inspired a lot of media since it came out, and I actually am not a hater of the direction they were going with the story when it comes to Prometheus. Contrary to public belief, what people don't understand is that David did not create the xenomorphs. They recreated a version of the xenomorph based on the DNA structure he found in the pathogen. The xenomorphs still retain an obscure origin story behind the whole thing, which is something that people wanted to be honored. And that's why they hate Prometheus and Covenant. They don't judge the movies based on how, well, good they are, but on what they did to their precious memories watching the movies back in the day. But for me, Prometheus is a beautiful looking, sounding movie. Elizabeth Shaw is a very interesting character. It includes some brutal scenes, and also the prequel short that shows how they initially found what they found is pretty great stuff. I like Prometheus. I don't think it could ever scale to A due to some issues, but I say it's a B+, kinda better than AVP. So for this to be more easily readable, I'm gonna put it on the left of AVP so you'll know we're talking about a better movie. Now next to this, I need to place Covenant, and Covenant is not as bad as to place it next to Resurrection. It's a C+ to B-, I'm gonna put it like that, because they went a little bit overboard with the stupidity, like the religious zealot captain that puts his head in an egg because the insane android that he knows is unhinged asked him to. It kinda expects from me a suspension of disbelief that I really can't reach. You have to be ready to go Forrest Gump levels of stupidity to be able to stomach this shit. And I'm not willing to. Apart from that though, the cinematography, the sound, the brutality in certain scenes is off the hook. The birth of the first Neomorph is one of the most brutal scenes we had in a movie like this. And after that, the decapitation of the soldier whilst he's having a shower and the Neomorph shows up. The way the two androids fight, it's all very precise stuff. It loses points for me because of what they did to Elizabeth Shaw. Like, you make a character, establish her, give her an arc showing how adamant she was in her belief to find the origins of our species, and then killing her off screen is awful, man. I know that script didn't make the cut, but you have Scott teaming up with Lindelof. Why is Lindelof still working in this industry, man? I don't know. I can't understand. It's a mess, if you ask me, the way they went about this movie. I want to see it concluded. I liked what we were shown in the latest movie, about including some of the stuff. A video game, a graphic novel, and whatever. Just wrap this thing up so it's not a loose end, and I'll be happy. As it stands, it's a C+ to B-. Not awful, pretty good. Now, we'll go Alien 3 and get the trilogy done and then talk a bit about Romulus. Alien 3 is a solid B to B+ for me. It is a good movie, very cynical, nihilistic movie that both shows how the Xenos cycle of life is handled and gives a very nice conclusion to Ripley as a character. That's why I hate Resurrection to an extent. It's like trying to make a sequel to Code Geass, the anime. Like, you have the perfect ending for your character and then you go to milk the franchise and make something that is probably a turd. Alien 3 is a good movie. Fincher is a very good director. Like, even if he was making the movie with a gun on his head, he would still make a good movie. A good movie to the extent that would be allowed. So I am not gonna take a down on it because that is the popular thing to do. I think it's a very good movie. I watch it periodically, and all in all, I think he did the best job that he could. Gonna keep it on B. Aliens. Aliens is an S, no questions asked. They took the creature, the aesthetics, and the overall world building from the first movie and made probably the best paced movie ever, and we're talking the theatrical release. We had a talk in the recent stream with Akritis, our friend George, about his knowledge, his insider knowledge of how the theatrical cut came to be and why we didn't get the extended edition in theaters. He knows about that stuff because he has a relative who is a director and he has spoken with people involved with the project. But as it stands, the theatrical release is a great example of, you know as much as the characters do, and then the extended cut is the intended by Cameron movie that shows the background of the events and you know slightly more than the character. So it's a totally different narration device, it's a totally different offering, and I love this in movies. The extended cut should not just be more movie, you know, the scenes that didn't make it into the theatrical release, should actually provide something additional, something that enriches the experience. And Aliens Extended Edition or Special Edition, whatever you want to call it, actually offers that. As it stands, the movie, either way you cut it, is a masterpiece for the ages. I'm not talking out of nostalgia. I have studied cinema to an extent and I'm an avid cinephile. watching this movie so many years later, watching the technology that went into it, the performances, the atmosphere it builds, the sense of dread and hopelessness, there's really nothing to compare it to when it comes to the sci-fi, the grounded, the feet on the ground kind of sci-fi, you know? We're not getting too floaty with supernatural elements, we're just putting people in a very dire situation with an organism we know very little about and expect them all to get wiped out. And it retains that tension up to the last scene. Aliens is a masterpiece for the ages. I don't need to say too much more about this. Now, the 79 original, I'll put on A plus to S minus. I don't think it's an inferior movie, okay? For what it is, it's fantastic, but for me they made a very fatal flaw when it comes to, you know, creating a super consistent runtime. There's a couple of scenes in this game where they show the Xeno more than they should have. Technology back in the day didn't lend itself to showing a creature like this. When it shows to take Lambert out, for example, it's a guy in a suit and it shows. When that jump scare occurs in the vent and it pops on the screen like this, it's like my father dressed up as Santa Claus to surprise me on Christmas Eve. It takes you out of the thing instantly, you know? It's like, it's the boogeyman. Maybe a remastered edition where they could have like fixed it up a bit, but it's considered the holy grail by many. Touching it in any way would probably create outrage, so they left it as is. It is awesome. It is a masterpiece. It gave birth to the whole universe. I have the utmost respect for it, but I have a very critical eye of these things, and I think it breaks the immersion up by showing too much of something that they were not really ready to show in 1979. I think they're interchangeable in their position with Aliens, but for me personally, Aliens succeeds in being timeless in the way it presented things, whilst the 79 movie really isn't because of the limitations of its time. They kinda had a vision larger than what they were allowed. Like Howard Stark in Iron Man 2, he says, I'm limited by the technology of my time, so I cannot create this new element when Tony is looking for a solution to the palladium problem. It's pretty much the same thing. They outstretched a bit. They should have kept the creature hidden more, because when it's hidden and it's lurking and you're wondering what's happening, it is far more convincing than when you show Timmy in a rubber suit. The designs are great. Mr. Geiger outdid himself, of course, but the cinematography doesn't lend itself as well when it comes to keeping the suspension of disbelief going. Romulus. I spoke about Romulus in depth in my review that I did recently. You can find it again in the comment section below. Guys, we've reached pretty much the apex of this vid. If you enjoyed it, subscribe, like, hit the notification bell, support the channel if you deem my work here worthwhile. That's how we're kept afloat to be able to make more vids, so please consider it. No one likes to work for free. I suppose you're in the same boat as I am. Just something to throw out there. The call to arms has always have to be mentioned. Let's wrap this up with Romulus. So for me, Romulus is a B+, and to be totally honest with you, I think out of all the B's, it's the best, leaning heavily towards being an A. I'm gonna explain why it's not an A. There was certainly studio meddling in here. There were too many one-liners taken from the past to invoke some kind of emotional response. That's 100% Disney, man. I bet my balls it was Disney trying to grasp the old viewers by the Goonies. But what they don't realize, because they're dumb shits desperate to make money, we are nearing 40 and some are nearing 70 according to how old you are and where you come from. When these movies came out, you were either extremely young, barely unborn, or capable of going to watch it in the cinema. The people who they tried to elicit a response from are people who are old enough to have a functional brain. They're not the TikTok crowd. So when they hear all those one-liners be thrown left and right, and we overdo it going from the Easter egg and homage space to the come on man, eyes rolling space, we miss the point. Cornbread, get away from here you bitch, this and that, they have like zero reason to be there. I can see where Fede Alvarez did the slight nods, and I can see where it was a Disney directive to just throw the line out because, oh shit, he said the thing. It could have been elevated a bit more, and I think the movie to an extent was a bit pristine. I spoke about the cast in great detail in my review. I think they did a fantastic job. The stupidity scale is manageable, like they do stupid things but is on par with the first movie, let's say. They're just, you know, from a background that is mentioned, you don't expect them to be geniuses or super adept, but it has some really slick scenes. I like how they handle the synth dynamic, and overall the cinematography is fantastic, the lights, moody, broody, but a bit too clean for my taste. I wanted it to be a bit more icky, you know, because there is brutality in here, there is violence, there is gore, but it's like they put porcelain under a layer of grime. You know it's still pristine under that. That takes a bit away from the whole thing. But as it stands, the movie is really good. It could be an A-, but I would be reaching to the 79 movie territory there, and people would have my head. Not that I give a shit about what people think when it's my rating. I care about giving you my honest opinion as always. It doesn't make the cut, not quite. It was missing a bit of the feel. But B for me it's pretty rare, to be honest with you. So B++ to A-, I'd say. Very close to being an A. And I urge you to go watch it if you haven't yet, because, you know, your friend who doesn't like life anymore felt like it's not good. Okay? If you trust my judgment, I'd say go watch it because it's totally worth it. I'd watch it twice in a movie theater if I had the time. So this is the ranking, guys. I really want to hear about your opinions on the matter. And of course, my opinion, being the YouTuber's opinion, isn't any more valid than yours unless you can't make an argument about yours. Because if it's like, yeah man, it's because I don't like the goo, you're invalidated, bro. Sorry about that. Sub, like, hit the notification bell for more videos like this. I think I'm gonna be making more tier vids if this does well, because I wanna be able to redirect people to my opinion without having to write a paragraph every single time, you know? Until next time, be well, stay frosty, and always strive for perfection. Cheers!